What's up,
What's up,
guys?
guys?
Coming to you, talk to you today about who knows what, because we are very planned and scheduled.
Where am I?
He's not here, and
Where where have I been for the last 4 months?
well, I did explain it in the last video.
Oh,
So obviously we're not live because Skype and OBS is terrible. And we're on Zoom, apparently, which also is terrible because unless you pay for it, you can't go live. So since Lewis is quarantined right now, we couldn't do anything live. So it's all...
don't worry. I don't think you can catch coronavirus through the computer, but
Yeah.
Maybe you can. I don't know. Hopefully
And
not.
literally right before we got together, my light went out. So I'm using this little desk lamp that I've got. So it's like everything that could go wrong did go wrong today.
Technical difficulties is still afoot.
Technical difficulties. Anyways, we appreciate y'all watching today. One of the things we wanted to talk about today was DC versus Diamond. What are your thoughts on that, Lewis?
I have many, but I'll try to narrow them down.
Yeah.
First, it's a sorry time to do that as far as DC goes. Only because, everything's up in the air financially and economically, and the people that end up getting hurt by this deal are the comic shops.
Is that your Andre the Giant guy back there?
Behind Beetle.
I just noticed that.
Yep.
You should show it to everybody because I got that for you after we had taken a break.
Yeah. No. That's why I put it on display. I know it's far back there, but ultimately, my biggest beef with their decision to cut ties at this moment is sort of the impact it has on the low man on the totem pole, i.e., the comic store owner.
Right.
Because it's an added shipping charge now, right? Like, presumably they would still pay whatever they were paying Diamond for the same books, but now they have to pay a separate shipping charge to Diamond and I forget what it's called, Luna something. I don't know.
Guess is better than mine.
I've been following the chatter about it, for the past couple months, but so I hate the immediate cost that's involved for the comic store owner. I do, though, like the idea of the competition in the sense that I hope that it helps bring down the price of comic books. I'm old school as far as comics go. You guys know that. So I'd totally be cool if they went back to a newsprint paper quality and charged less.
Right. Me too.
Charge
less, good.
And here's the thing. There are a number of books that are out that I might be more inclined to try if I didn't feel like I was going to lose $4 on it.
Right.
Like, I don't want to drop $4 on a book that I'm not sure I'm going to like.
Yeah.
Even with characters I'm interested in, I don't want to drop $4 for a book I might like, because I can just check the dollar bin and come up with something good, because I could get 4 books for $1, for $4 out of the dollar bin. That's math, folks.
Yeah. And like in this comic book climate where like half of the stuff is garbage anyways,
right?
This makes it even more risky to put down $4 because it's like, this is probably going to be bad. Like there's not a good chance that this is going to be a good thing. And generally, like, I can tell what I'm going to enjoy as opposed to what I'm not going to enjoy. And so it's like, I can just flip through it a little bit and be like, yeah, I'm probably not going to enjoy this.
Right.
I can be wrong sometimes, but.
Well, art is such an indicator anymore, right? Like, used to you had to actually read a book, and you know, comic stores are frequent to tell you this is not a library, so you don't get to read the story for free.
Right.
So your only basis of determining something like that is to flip through and be like, okay, I can tolerate the art, but so frequently anymore, the art doesn't look like art. It looks like
Yeah.
junk.
And
Um,
sometimes like the covers will be really good, but the insides is pretty terrible.
right, right.
So,
Um, there was some
but,
book that I was reading recently that I got gypped because I bought it based on the cover, but then I look. We were talking about this with the Flash 750, right? Like,
uh-huh.
um, that book came out right before everything went down, um, and there's an excellent story in there, but the art is terrible.
Right.
I don't remember which of the stories, but you go read that book and you'll immediately pick up on it, because it's the thing that's not like the other things, but it's not like the other things in a bad way.
Right.
Um, I mean, you want consistent art, like not the same art even, right? Because it's an anthology book, but just quality art, and you don't get that as often anymore. Um, and I'm not trying to diss current artists. I just know what I like as far as art goes, and a lot of what's passed off as quality art these days is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I'm like, as far as current books, I'm reading the Fantastic Four, and I like the art inside the book, but frequently I'm not a fan of the covers.
Right. And the cover
That
should be what's the best.
well, right, and that's it. So like, Esad Ribic or something. I don't know how you say his name, but he has like these painted covers, and I don't doubt that there's a comic book out there that like his style totally vibes with, but I don't like the first 10 or so issues of the Fantastic Four that he was doing. That won't it for me.
Yeah.
Because I was consistently buying any variant cover I could get so that I wouldn't have his covers.
Right.
That's not how you want to run your business, or at least I wouldn't want to run my business. I'd want to put something that actually people are like, oh, that's a Fantastic Four book, or oh, that's a Flash comic, or oh, that's clearly Superman. Not something that people are like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I think that the split with Diamond is a good thing. I say the timing is pretty bad. It's right after a coronavirus quarantine, so like half of the shops were forced to close anyways. Some of which
Yeah.
might not even open again, and then
Yep.
uh,
I've read about a number of stores that have closed permanently.
you add to that like um, the comic book uh, climate is pretty bad, where they were already poor quality and as far as writing goes, and now you're just gonna and so a lot of these businesses are trying to get back in, and they've lost money because they've had a month or two without income, and then now you're going to make them pay more.
Right.
So I think probably the only way that they could really do well is if they dropped it back down to the $3 at least, like bare minimum.
Right.
If they could start off saying, "Hey, we're going back because of this," we're able to go back to the $3 for a little while, and then we're just keeping it there. you know?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you can back it down, and single issues don't cost any more than $3, unless it's like these anthology books, which honestly
Right.
shouldn't cost more than $7 or $8.
Right. And like I feel like everybody hated on DC for doing that, and I'm like, I understand because they're a business too. They're trying to survive the coronavirus, and they didn't have to fire a bunch of people because they were able to employ them through the coronavirus. And I'm like, I kind of understand, trying to stay afloat even during the coronavirus. So it is what it is. Uh, they could have waited at least a month before they decided to do that. But then again, uh, I don't know as much, but it seemed like Diamond was pretty unreasonable sometimes. And I think that DC leaving permanently kind of shook them up a little bit. And
Yeah.
hopefully that'll lead to some good things where they're like, okay, we actually need to be, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Competitive
Right.
in the market rather than just making people do whatever they say. So, to some extent, probably for DC, it was probably like, hey, this is, a good opportunity. We want to keep printing. They don't. So we're gonna go ahead and hop ship now before it goes under, and go with another company. And so, I understand both sides. And I guess that leads to like the most important thing we can do is support our local comic book stores. And
Which I did during the coronavirus.
That's right.
I set up a time to go in there with Brandon, and I bought, I won't say how much money worth of books.
Yeah.
I bought a diamond box full.
Yeah, I haven't gone in as much as I wanted to. Just with the extra hours that I was working, it was difficult to want to go out and do anything. But
Sure.
we were blessed to have a job through the virus, so we is essential. Yeah.
Essential employee.
So yeah, but maybe not as essential as your wife is, but yeah, but so we say that we can support ours because we've had money the whole time. So I understand other people not being able to, but
What do you mean the $1,200 wasn't enough for people?
yeah, we'll not
That's a
go.
whole ridiculous fish, but I'm just
We'll
saying.
not go into that. Anyway, you been reading anything interesting?
Back issues like crazy.
Yeah.
So you guys can probably see where my comics are not anymore, but that's because I moved them from over here and moved them over there, which you can't see, and I'm not going to shift my computer because it would knock all the junk on my desk off. But I literally have stacks of comics as tall as me now.
There you
go. Before they only came up to about here. Now they're easily, but one series that I recently reread and really dig is called JLA Incarnations. So it's like reinterpreted stories or continuity fixes and things like that, which if you don't know anything about it, it really doesn't matter, right? You'll just enjoy them. But this is my favorite cover. So you see Booster there, and Martian Manhunter says Beetle, sorry. Stop posing and get down here. And I love the artwork there. Because all of them have the little side panel there, right? And then a depiction of what's going on. So
yeah.
I'll show you a couple more just to catch the vibe. You got Batman there. And here you have Black Canary and the Justice League versus the JSA.
Huh.
So, yeah, so good little series.
That's cool. I haven't read much lately. I've been playing a lot of video games and organizing a lot of my random issue comics. And I'm finally like getting close to an ending of organizing all my comics, which is nice. But I've got a few.
Or so he thinks.
Yeah. I've got a few series that I'm looking into, and or that I'm setting aside to start reading here shortly. But I've been
like
playing.
Legion?
Like
Legion?
That's on my list. There was a few mini series that I was like, I need to read this soon. Like the one we were talking about where the medieval superheroes with the Avengers. But I've been playing a lot of video games. One of which is The Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is pretty old now because there's already a sequel to it. I was telling Lewis, like, I really like the new Tomb Raider as opposed to the Angelina Jolie, which I know some people really like that one better, but I really like the new one. And so I was like, when I got an Xbox One, I was like, I gotta buy this. Uh, and so I've really enjoyed that. The gameplay is really fun, and so I'm getting
Somebody's
close.
spending his stimulus money wisely.
I didn't spend my stimulus money. Uh,
I'm teasing you. It's all the overtime you've been getting.
that's right. That's right. But yeah. So I've been playing through that, and I just got the Jedi Fallen Order, so I can finally play that game. So I was gonna wait till it ended up on the Switch, but I'm ready to play it. So that's gonna happen here in the next few days, maybe next weekend.
I think
So
the graphics will be better on the Xbox than the Switch, right?
yeah, graphics are better on Xbox and PS4. So, but yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've also been writing or plotting stories in my head for new books and stuff to write. So that's been fun. I finished reading or listening to the Silmarillion. Not really an advertise. They aren't paying us anything, but Audible is awesome. Uh, you can listen through a lot of their
They're not a
books.
sponsor.
They're not a sponsor. I said that. Um,
Oh, I know that's our tag though.
all
Audible,
right.
not a sponsor.
But they are
Like
pretty awesome.
McConaughey, not a
I just
sponsor.
I just finished listening to the Silmarillion, and I just love that series. And they've got a lot of the Tolkien books there. And I've been watching a lot of other YouTubers, like Men of the West, and I think it's called Geek Zone. There's a few others that are like primarily focused on the lore of Lord of the Rings, and just been learning more and more about Tolkien. I mean, I love Tolkien's works, so it's pretty fun. So I've been focusing a lot on that these days because Star Wars is kind of dead. Although I've got about halfway through the Clone Wars season 7. I mentioned in the last live stream, like I haven't finished it. I'm just I got bored with a little bit, but one of my youth at church told me like it gets really good at the end. So I was like, okay, I better brunt through this and started watching Stargate SG-1 again. Just an amazing show. I've been showing Lewis Doctor Who, starting with Eccleston. So that's been fun. So a lot of cool stuff. Um, let us know what you've been reading. Any books you've been reading, shows, games you've been playing, watching. Yeah, we're interested to hear. Um, until Lewis gets out of quarantine, this is going to be what we're looking at for now. Uh, so I'll try to do some videos coming up, talk about different stuff. But let us know what you let us know what you think about the whole DC Diamond thing or any of the other stuff we talked about. If you've got any topics you'd like to hear us talk about, let us know. I'm going to try to get back into this YouTube stuff now
Yeah.
that the virus is slowing down. The quarantine's breaking. So cool stuff. You got anything
Dan,
else, Lewis?
yeah, Danzier, if you're watching, I know you mentioned at one point in conversation, either through the Facebook, YouTube chat, or Facebook Messenger, you like the Shadow Man series from Valiant. Apparently, they're redoing that. So if you get into that, let us know how that is. Um, Dang, there was something else I wanted to say.
There's someone who left.
Do it.
Weren't you talking about somebody who left or died or something?
Oh yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. But
Okay.
um, this coming weekend is Father's Day weekend. So if you had a good dad, love on him well. If you had a bad dad, I'm sorry. Um, I don't know what else to say about that. We were scheduled to go to Heroes Con. I was really looking forward to that. They canceled it.
And then we were
So,
going to go to the beach, and
and
then
then
that.
we scheduled to go to the beach, and then my wife got diagnosed with COVID. So here we are.
Here we are.
But you know, every gray cloud has a silver lining, right? You've heard that before. I've heard that before. I don't know if it's true or not. But you know what's happening on August 15th?
What?
The Wake Forest Mini Comic Con. Wake Forest Mini Comic Con. And y'all thought it was over. It's only just begun. So, yeah, looking forward to that.
If you're new to the channel, Lewis took every chance he could last year to announce the Wake Forest Comic Con.
You can best believe that's going to happen again. So I'm excited. I hope nothing happens to prevent that from happening. Brandon always puts on a quality show. Definitely worth the $5 we don't have to pay because we sponsor his show or advertise, I guess I should say.
Well, and we also are subs at his shop, so that helps too.
This is true. He takes care of us. He is flat out in my 29 years of comic collecting, the absolute best comic shop owner I've ever dealt with.
I've gone to others, and I've had other comic book shops that I've subscribed to, but I really like Brandon.
And they've taken care of us, but they never give us quite the same customer service experience that Brandon does. So if you're in Wake Forest, please make your way downtown. It's 2 doors down from Domino's, so order a pizza and go kill time at the comic book store.
Yeah.
They'll let you know when your pizza's ready. Then you go home, eat your pizza, and read some comic books.
There you go.
I don't know that there's a whole lot better in life than enjoying Domino's deep pan pizza and good comic books.
Well, if you're into that thing, there's a wine shop next door, a coffee shop across the street, and a bar down the street. So you can go get comic books and then go take a break and read. Whatever suits your fancy there.
There's also an excellent hot dog stand.
There you go. Which you can't go into right now, but it's down there.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit on the park bench outside and eat your hot dogs.
So how's COVID treating you guys, the quarantine? Has it given you lots of time to read all your old comic books? I know that I have more than I'll ever be able to read, but
which makes me sad. I really want him reading the Legion. So he can either decide he hates it and give it back to me, or he falls in love with it and we talk about it.
Now that I've spent so much money on it, I better love it.
I don't know. I feel like you've gotten everything for $1 or less, though.
Right.
Not counting the free stuff I gave you, so.
So I got half the series for free, and then I probably paid like $50 for the rest.
More like 40, I think.
Okay.
Because it's only like 77 issues, not counting the annuals, which I know you just recently started getting. So.
Right.
I'll
start them soon. I'm really close to having them all.
Well, the first 3 issues is a single storyline, so start with that. I mean, that's
there you go.
Pretty easy. And it only gets better. Like, yes, I'm regretting having given it to you because I recently bought an issue for reasons that will remain nameless for the most part. But it's part of a storyline that I enjoyed, and I really enjoyed it. Like,
yeah,
it was good.
So let us know what you've been reading through the quarantine. We'd love to hear. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love for you to join the family. We just talk about all things comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, anything. And
we're not quite done, even though he's trying to sign off. So
okay, what else you got? Give us a like if you enjoyed hearing us. What else you got, Lewis?
Denny O'Neil died.
Okay.
He was the writer on Green Lantern, Green Arrow, the hard traveling heroes in the 70s. So he basically in a lot of ways he created the Green Arrow character that we know and love today. As far as him being a voice of social consciousness of sorts. He basically rewrote the question um, from. Now I don't know what this means because I keep reading it, but I'm too lazy to look it up. But um,
You're gonna
Steve
say it
Ditko,
anyways.
yes, Steve Ditko created the character as an objectivist. So Ayn Rand's philosophy, um, sort of like a black and white kind of thing, but he made him more of a political character because he started out as like a newspaper guy, and he brought that real street level feel to the characters he wrote. Um, he wrote Batman. He wrote the novelization for Batman: The Nightfall, where Bane broke Batman's back, and that was probably my first like learning what his name was and who he was. Um, but he wrote some excellent Batman stories. He created Ra's al Ghul and Talia. So they might be famous. I don't know. Have you guys heard of Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul? I don't know how you guys say it. I say Ra's,
So
but
it's his fault that we have Damian Wayne.
no, that's Mike Barr's fault.
Well,
Because he's the one who wrote the story where Talia and Batman.
right, but we wouldn't have had that if they hadn't gotten Talia.
Well, fair, but they came. They were
I'm just messing with you.
they came out at the same time, so you can't really fault the man for creating one of the greatest Batman villains of all time. Um, anyway, uh, he he's the reason that James Rhodes wore the Iron Man armor. He wrote that storyline. He wrote the storyline where Tony Stark actually dealt with his alcoholism. So David Michelinie wrote um, the issue "Demon in a Bottle," right? But it was Dennis O'Neil or Denny O'Neil who wrote the storyline where Tony Stark actually dealt with his alcoholism and
Yeah.
nearly lost his company.
Huh.
Um, yeah. Let's see. Who? What else did he do? I think he was the one during that time on Green Lantern, Green Arrow, who created John Stewart, Green Lantern. Um, oh yeah, he wrote Superman at one point and gave him a more street level vibe. That's Neil Adams' artwork. They worked together on a lot of big stuff, and I mean, who wouldn't love a guy who creates a Superman comic where Superman eats kryptonite? So he depowered Superman, but took away his greatest weakness. It was quickly undone because this was the late 70s, early 80s, and the guy who was running things changed it back because he wanted Superman to be uber powerful, able to move planets. Denny O'Neil saw a need to tone Superman down some.
Yeah.
Um, Created one of the quintessential Superman stories. I have a couple different Superman trade paperback collections that both include issues from that. So to say that Denny O'Neil made an impact on comics would be an understatement. Like once you start thinking about the number of books that he actually wrote or had some influence on, like he was the editor of Daredevil and he hired Frank Miller. So when you think of Daredevil, if you're not thinking of Frank Miller's run, um, what are you thinking about? Stan Lee, maybe,
The new
right?
TV
Like,
show.
but I mean, so much of what happened in the TV show, though, it comes right out of the Frank Miller comics,
Sure, sure.
like Kingpin's depiction, the storyline where Daredevil's identity is revealed. That's Frank Miller. Um, Now, I'm not a Frank Miller fanatic or anything, but he wrote good Daredevil comics. Um, he gave a number of guys who wrote definitive runs on comics their break so that they could start writing comics or drawing comics. So his influence, I read one guy who made the argument. He said his influence may be second only to Stan Lee's in the breadth of his career because he wrote right up into the 2000s.
Yeah.
He started in the 70s and he worked right up into the 2000s. Um, and he influenced Moon Knight, an artist who drew Bill Szynski. I don't know how you say his name. He has a very odd style, but so he worked on Moon Knight and Daredevil, Batman, The Question, Green Lantern, Green Arrow. I'm saying like the character you love, Green Arrow. Um, you can thank Denny O'Neil for that, because he's the one who moved him past just a bow and arrow version of Batman to the lovable jerk, um, with a political conscience, uh, because he saw a need to address certain issues like you know uh, I mean, just because of the time we're living in and the conversations that are being had, uh, one of the earliest issues there, um, Green Lantern is confronted by a black man who says, "You care about the blue man and the green guy in space, but what about the brown man here on the street?" And so it reads a little cheesy to us now, but it's a good question, and it got the story rolling, and of course he wrote Speedy's addiction issues, um, and dealt with that in a way that uh, gave character to both Arsenal, Roy, whatever you want to call him, and
Speedy.
Green Arrow, yeah, um, and even Black Canary. She took on a matronly, sisterly like role with Roy as she helped him work through his addiction and the withdrawals and things thereafter. And so even though he had Green Arrow be this like strong voice for certain issues, he showed that he was still very human.
That was
Um,
70s Green Lantern, Green Arrow, right?
yep,
'Cause that's where John Stewart came in.
right. And that's what I said. He introduced him too.
It kind
Like
of led up to the Mike Grell stuff.
that's right. Yes. Ultimately, Grell built on what Denny O'Neil um, was going after, and so again, to suggest that this man's um, like if you enjoy comic books, there's a chance that you can trace back either to Stanley or Denny O'Neil. Um, his impact is not to be taken lightly, and um, I don't think it's wrong to say that the world is a little, at least the comic book world is a little bit sadder, as a result of guys
Yeah,
like him no longer um, being around. So,
right.
tipping my hat to you, Denny.
Another casualty of 2020.
Yeah,
So, anything else?
that would be it, sir.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, we appreciate you. Go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to add you to the family. And I've already said everything else, so I'm not going to bore you with more.
But
But
if you have a favorite Denny O'Neil story or issue or whatever, tell us about it in the comments. I would like to read more.
story, issue, character.
Yeah.
So,
So.
all right. Well, we'll catch you next time. Peace.